Welcome to Basic Shooting Technique. In this section, we will first give you an overview of our shooting technique education. Then we will introduce the National Training System and the key concept of holding. Lastly, we'll give you a visual walkthrough of the shot cycle and go through some common errors and drills. To learn more about shooting technique, we have divided it into 3 courses. The first one, Basic Shooting Technique, is included in this Level 1 class. The other 2 can be taken at a later time in our Level 2 and 3 coach courses when you feel ready. This gives you a chance to work with your students and gain experience. The basic course introduces the NTS method to you. The intermediate course goes through the overall mechanics of the shot and explores how these concepts work together to create a strong shot. Finally, advanced shooting goes through more details and biomechanics of the shot cycle. It also explores more mental aspects of the shot. Each of these 3 courses is comprised of 3 parts. First, we teach you the method. Then, you will see some common errors and drills to correct them. Finally, you will learn how to apply all of this to your students, which is in the next section, Basic Coaching. Let's introduce NTS now. The U.S. has adopted a National Training System, or NTS, which has been developed by our national head coach, Kisik Lee. This system benefits both archers and coaches. Archers learn strong shooting technique, and coaches are equipped with effective teaching methods. For archers, NTS uses a biomechanically efficient shooting technique, also known as BEST. This method increases the archer's performance by giving them more endurance and making them less susceptible to injury. This is due to the efficient use of the archer's muscles and skeletal structure. The method also improves their technique, because the shot cycle can be repeated more easily and exactly. For coaches, NTS improves teaching methods by making them more consistent and easier to implement during practices. Consistency between coaches is especially important for you at the youth level. By laying down a strong foundation in your archers, you are preparing them for a lifelong enjoyment of the sport. Whether your students are there to just have fun or want to pursue the sport seriously, all archers can be started off on the right foot. For example, when students graduate from middle school and join their high school archery team, the coach will be able to build upon what they have already learned in middle school, because both coaches are teaching the same method. This pattern continues on to college, junior dream team, youth Olympics, or national team if students wish to pursue it that far. NTS also makes it easier to run training sessions, because the shot cycle is broken down into steps and key concepts. So during practice, you could focus on one step or a sequence of them. Now that we have introduced NTS, we are going to look at the fundamental concept of NTS, which is holding. Holding is the most important part of NTS. It is holding that gives our archers the biomechanical advantage that we talked about earlier. Simply put, holding is defined as the ability to brace the bow at full draw from the body's bone alignment. Here this archer is at full draw and has taken holding. The bow arm is in line with the back, the draw elbow is inside the arrow line, and the back muscles are engaged. The overall posture is also good. She is not leaning back in any direction and is well centered over her stance. Also notice that the draw elbow is in line with the arrow line. The combination of all of these allows the archer to align their body into its strongest position, known as holding. More often than not, archers are shooting collapsed, where their body has incorrect alignment. This is both inefficient and prone to injury. Thus, it is important to teach holding from the very beginning so that students are developing good habits. To demonstrate and feel holding, use the squeeze drill. First, have your archer come to full draw. Here we have a left-handed archer, so he is raising his right arm up and bringing his left hand under his chin. Then you will gently squeeze their bow hand and draw elbow together. If they have incorrect alignment and thus are not at holding, then they will collapse. However, if they have proper alignment and thus have taken holding, then they will not collapse. The squeeze drill can also be done with 3 people. This is done when the archer is in the correct alignment, as it shows that this position is strong enough to withstand even 2 people pushing on them. What drill do you use to demonstrate and feel holding? Please select the correct answer below. Correct. You would use the squeeze drill. Please select all that properly describe the holding position. Those are correct. True or false? Since holding is the most important part of NTS, it should be taught from the very beginning. That is true. Holding is very important and must be taught from the beginning. What is the definition of holding? Please select the correct answer below. That is correct. Holding is the ability to brace the bow at full draw from the body's bone alignment. Now we are going to have a visual walkthrough of the shooting method. As we go through it, here are some things to keep in mind. First, we will be highlighting key features at each step. This is so that you can get a sense for what the method looks like, and so that you can mold your students to the proper positions when they are practicing. Second, focus on concepts, not details. Lastly, this archer is provided as an example of the method, not a cookie cutter. Each archer is unique and must find what is comfortable for them. However, the underlying principles are all the same. Archery is a cycle, so you repeat the same steps each time in order to be as consistent as possible. To give you the big picture, there are a total of 15 major steps in NTS, each with their own specific subpoints. So it is a very thorough method that Coach Lee has developed. If you take all 3 of our shooting technique courses, then you will learn about each of these. In this introductory course, however, we will be focusing on the stance and posture, set, setup, load, anchor, transfer, holding, release, and follow through. With the proper pre-shooting drills and practice, these steps will soon be second nature. Form straps and stretch bands are great training aids that let students get comfortable with each of these motions. This early practice really pays off later when introducing the bow. Okay, let's see what the shot cycle looks like with the stretch band first. Here we can see it from the front view. And here it is from the back view. Now that you have seen a preview of the shot, let's take a closer look at each of the steps. Note that we are using a right-handed archer for our example. The first step is stance. The archer places one foot on either side of the line, shoulder width apart, and parallel. This is known as a square stance. This is an easy stance for beginners to reproduce. When they reach the intermediate level, they will learn about an open stance. Next we check posture. They should have a straight back, be well centered over their stance, and have a relaxed composure. You can also see both shoulders are down and relaxed. The shoulders are also level with each other. Next is set. Here the archer is getting ready to begin their shot. The body is set so that the direction of the back is towards the target. Next, notice the position of their hands and arms. The bow arm is extended just to the right of center, and the elbow is rotated so that it is vertical. Here you can see that if the bow arm elbow is not rotated, then the joint will face upwards. Instead, the elbow should be rotated so that the joint is vertical. Rotating the bow arm is important because it provides clearance for the string as it goes by, as well as contributes to a strong bow arm position. Continuing with set, the draw arm is in front of the body around the stomach area. Also notice that the draw hand wrist has a slight bend to it. Lastly, the head is set towards the target in a natural and relaxed position. Now the archer comes to setup by raising the draw arm and bow arm up. The draw hand goes straight up to about nose or cheek height and remains around the armpit area in terms of distance forward. Notice that the distance from the body and the bend in the wrist are still maintained. The bow arm raises up and aligns with the back. It is important that the bow arm is set in this position before proceeding with the next step. When coming from set to setup, it is especially important to keep both shoulders down. This motion alone from set to setup takes practice. After setup is load. The archer draws the bow by moving the entire right shoulder, elbow, and scapula unit around and down towards the spine. This loads the lower back muscles. Load finishes with the draw hand 1 to 2 inches below the chin. Here again, you can see how the draw elbow and shoulder unit go around to get good alignment. This motion brings the draw hand to the proper position 1 to 2 inches below the chin. Now the archer comes to anchor. The draw hand comes up under the chin. Notice that the hand stays close to vertical rather than turning out horizontally. Also, the index finger and hand must be in solid contact with the bottom of the jaw. After anchor is transfer. Transfer is a small movement with the right scapula, shoulder, and elbow unit continuing around and down towards the spine. This small movement completes the archer's alignment to reach holding. Now the archer has taken holding. As we talked about earlier, the archer has now aligned their body into its strongest position so that their bone structure is now bracing the bow. After the archer has taken holding, the next step is the release. This is done by simply relaxing the draw fingers to let the stretch band or string go. A sign of a good release is that the draw fingers will remain slightly curled. If they are straight, then the archer physically opened their fingers rather than just relaxing them. When making the release, the archer must maintain their back tension until the end of the follow-through. The release leads directly into the follow-through. The bow arm stays up and its alignment is maintained. The archer maintains back tension, which makes the draw unit continue around. Just like baseball or running, archery too has a follow-through that results from a strong shot. Here again, you can see how the draw side unit moves around for the follow-through. This is possible by maintaining back tension and allowing the draw side to act as a unit, rather than having a hinge at the shoulder joint. Another sign of a good release is for the draw hand to remain close to the neck. If it flings out or falls away from the neck, it is a sign that the draw arm is hinging at the shoulder joint rather than moving around as one unit. Let's see the shot again from the front. And here it is from the back view again. Now we are going to see the shot cycle with the bow and add some more steps in. Again, we start with stance. Now we nock the arrow. Remember that the arrow sits on the arrow rest, that the index vein points towards the archer, and that the nock goes underneath the nock locator. Be sure to hear it click onto the string. Now do your hook. For beginners, the string will basically sit around the first groove of the fingers. Your thumb and pinky are tucked back and form an inverted C shape. Lastly, the back of your draw hand should be flat. Other than the tension in your fingers to hold the string, your draw hand should remain relaxed. Now do your grip. Your hand should be at around a 45-degree angle with the fingers curled and relaxed. The thumb should point downrange towards the targets so that the bow presses against the pressure point at the base of your hand. If done properly, the pressure point will line up with your arm rather than twisting off to the side. Lastly, beginners may lightly hold the bow. Later, the finger sling will be introduced, in which case the archer does not hold onto the bow at all. Rather, they let the finger sling catch the bow for them, making for a more consistent shot. The other fingers should remain curled and relaxed. Next, we check posture, remembering to keep our body straight and shoulders down. Then come to set. Then set up, load, and anchor. Now that we are using a bow, the string will touch the tip of the nose and chin. The draw hand will still make solid contact under the jaw. After anchor is transfer. When transferring, make sure the string does not slide along the face. Now the archer has taken holding. Here you can see the draw elbow inside the arrow line. Next is aiming. Aiming starts after the archer has taken holding. If archers aim too soon in the shot cycle, it tends to distract them from their form and they forget to do steps. When aiming, the archer should maintain eye focus on the target until the end of the follow-through. A common mistake is to release the arrow and then immediately look to see where it landed, rather than staying focused on completing the shot. Do not over-aim. Continue to maintain back tension and make a good release and follow-through. Again, if too much emphasis is placed on aiming, then the archer loses focus on doing good form.
remember that ultimately it is our bodies that shoot the arrow and not our minds alone. To help with this, remember to have a good shot rhythm. After taking holding, the arrow should be released within 3 seconds. Any longer than this and the mind will start to wander. Adjusting the sight is pretty straightforward. Basically, you want to follow your arrow group. So, if you're aiming at the gold and your arrows land high, then you want to move your sight up. If they are landing to the left, then you move your sight left. Make small, deliberate adjustments, and remember to continue to focus on your form and not get obsessed over sight changes. Also, be sure to write down your sight settings so that you have them for future practices. Another thing to keep in mind is the string alignment. After the archer has anchored and taken holding, the string will have firm contact on the face. The string will thus be a blurry line in the archer's vision. This line should be aligned with the right side of the sight pin for a right-handed archer. In essence, the string blur is the archer's rear sight and ensures that the bow is properly aligned with the target. Though we want good string alignment, remember that the archer shouldn't stop in the middle of their shot to make adjustments. Rather, remind them to have a good head position, anchor, and body alignment during their shot, which will help them have a more consistent string alignment. You will likely see the impact of string alignment if a student is shooting a lot of left or right groupings. If the rest of their form looks good, it could be that their string alignment is changing, causing each shot to go left or right differently. To release, relax the draw fingers while maintaining back tension.
And finally, the release leads directly into the follow-through. Here you can see the shot again from the front view. And here is the back view again.
Put these steps in their proper order. Drag the step on the right to its order on the left. Well done, those are correct. Fill in the blanks with the proper selections to complete the statement below. Good job completing that statement. Which of the following are characteristics of good posture? Please select all that apply. Good job. Those are important parts of good posture. True or false? You should focus on details, not concepts. You are correct. You should focus on concepts, not details.
Now that you've seen the shot cycle, we are going to take a look at some common errors and give you the drills to help correct them. As an archery coach, you want to build up a mental toolbox of images of what the form looks like, drills, and activities. Just like our students, we as coaches must continue to practice so that we can become more effective in our teaching. Our first case is an archer not taking holding. Here you can see the archer is out of alignment. And here you can see the archer has correct alignment. To help an archer feel correct alignment, do the squeeze drill. If they are out of alignment, they will collapse. However, if they take holding, they will not collapse. Another common problem is the hollow back. Here you can see the archer is arching their back. Instead, we want to see it straight.
There are 3 steps to good posture. First, tuck the hips under. Then, relax the chest down. Lastly, settle your weight down into your hips. Good posture is very important, so students should practice these 3 steps and make sure they are maintaining correct posture throughout the shot.
Another part of posture is being well centered over the stance. To compensate for the bow weight, beginning archers will often lean back. help the archer start and remain centered over their stance during the entire shot. The head position must also be natural and relaxed. Here you can see the archer tilting their head up and back. One way to help is to place one hand on the archer's head and gently press down. This will help keep the head still and let the archer feel rooted to the ground. Keeping the shoulders down is very important. Here you can see the bow shoulder coming up. Make sure the archer is keeping their shoulder down throughout the entire shot. Sometimes it comes up when going from set to setup, or for others, it moves as they load. Another problem is not getting the bow arm into its proper alignment. Here we can see that the bow arm is not in line with the back. Instead, we want a straight line. There are two drills you can do to help archers feel the correct bow arm alignment. The first is a bow arm drill. The archer comes to full draw on the ground and holds that position. They should be able to feel the difference between being in and out of line. This drill also helps them feel a low pressure point on their bow hand. The other drill is to pull the stretch band behind their head. This helps the archer feel the proper bow arm position, as well as how to keep the shoulder down. Another helpful version of this is to first have your students pull the stretch band behind the head. Then, while keeping the bow arm position and feeling, bring the stretch band to the load position, and then the setup position. You can continue this by going back to load and finally behind the head again. They should be able to keep the bow arm and shoulder in place at each of these steps. Another tendency will be to grip the bow in the wrong position. Here the archer's grip is off to the side of the bow and they are using their entire hand to hold it. Make sure that they are making the proper grip at the set position and keeping it throughout the entire shot. Students will often skip steps in the shot cycle. For example, here the archer drew the bow directly to their face. Instead, make sure they're taking the proper load position 1 to 2 inches below the chin, and then coming up to the proper anchor position.
For the release and follow-through, you might see students flinging their hand out or not making a follow-through at all. Remember that for a good release and follow-through, students must relax their draw fingers and maintain back tension. Let's see some activities to help practice this.
First, it helps to simply practice the motion of the follow-through. When they're shooting, you can do two things. First, to make sure they are making a follow-through, you can place a hand behind their draw elbow. When they release, their draw elbow should hit your hand. If their hand has a tendency to fling out, you can place your hand just to the side of their release hand. If they make a clean release that stays close to the neck, then they won't hit your hand. Both of these activities help the archer develop body awareness. Lastly, an archer can practice on their own by grabbing their bow hand and doing the release and follow-through. This is also a good way to practice relaxing the draw fingers.
What are the 3 steps to good posture? Please select all that apply. Good answers. To make a good release and follow-through, archers must That is correct. Archers must relax their draw fingers and maintain back tension. True or false? The bow shoulder can be up. You are correct. The bow shoulder must be down. True or false? The bow arm should be in line with the back. That is true. The bow arm should be in line with the back. Click here to proceed to Section 7 Teaching Method.